2. Recorded live.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Travis and Vic's Drunken Horror Adventures. We got my boo on the line. Blake's on the line. What's up, my boo?
What is up? How are you doing this evening, sexy? How are you?
So, this podcast is not generally homosexual, but apparently we've gone to that territory so far. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Okay, let me just throw out the Seinfeld line. But anyway, no, we're talking about Piranha 3D, and this movie has like everything, and so we're kind of excited to talk about it. Vic should be calling in when Vic can call in. I mean, we're traveling back to not too long ago, 2010. Usually we're, traveling back to the 80s, so this is kind of a fun little romp through August of 2010.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And to be fair, it's Piranha 3D, but neither one of us got to watch it in 3D this past week. But when I saw it at the theater, God knows when, in August of 2010, maybe even September, I got to watch it in 3D at the theater, which was a pretty fucking cool experience. And as far as 3D gimmicks go, I mean, it's up there with one of the best, because this came out right before the whole craze of sticking everything in fucking 3D, even if it wasn't meant to be. Remember that? It's not so much now, but back then.
Yeah. I mean, didn't My Bloody Valentine, the 3D remake, didn't it come out at some point not too far, but after this or before this?
Yeah, it was a 2009, but that's Friday the 13th remake. Let's see. My Bloody Valentine 3D. It was 2009, just like Friday the 13th. So both of them came out the same. Oh, wait, Friday the 13th wasn't 2009. I'm fucking drunk. It was, no, maybe it was.
It was 2009, buddy.
Yeah.
The one with Derek Mears, that's the one you're talking about, right?
Yeah, well, both of those movies came out in 2009, but My Bloody Valentine remake was in 3D, and of course, that would be the arguable contender for best 3D movie ever. Whether you like the quality or not, I'm just talking about the gimmick itself,
Yeah.
Because the 3D gimmick had not been done well up to this point. We had Friday the 13th Part 3 fail. We talked about that a couple weeks ago on the Top 10 Horror Movies of 1982. The 3D gimmick added absolutely nothing to Friday the 13th Part 3, in my opinion, other than some cheese. And then there's Jaws 3D, which I don't remember anything about it. I've never seen it 3D. Have you?
No, but I'll tell you what I did see in 3D, right? Well, I think it was about 8 years after Jaws 3D. Freddy's Dead, the ending of that in 3D, and it was
But that's
not
the whole movie, right? Isn't it
right, no, it's just the ending sequence. It works, but it's just the ending sequence.
Okay, I was going to say, it was just part of it, not the whole thing, so.
Yeah.
Wasn't quite the same, but yeah. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. So this movie, Piranha 3D, again, came out August 20th, 2010, and I feel like I watched it just a few days later, because I'm pretty sure I was in college at the time for the second run. Get my associate's degree at the time. Shut the fuck up and go lay down. My dogs are being ridiculous. They don't get to see enough of me, apparently. Anyway, August 20th, 2010, directed by Alexandra. How the fuck is this pronounced? Alexander Aja?
Alexander Aja, yeah.
Aja. He also directed Hills Have Eyes and High Tension. So he's got a pretty good pedigree for him there.
Oh, yeah.
Hills Have Eyes remake, obviously,
Yeah.
And he produced Maniac, the remake. And so, he's got a pretty good credit. He did Mirrors. Have you ever seen Mirrors? Because I have not. Not the whole thing.
Is that Kiefer Sutherland, right?
Yeah, and I think maybe like Amy Smart.
Yeah, it was Amy Smart. Yeah, I've seen it. It's actually worth a watch. I watched one last night. We'll get into it later. And the one I watched last night, oh my God, it was something else, man. Let me tell you.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into that, man, for sure.
Yeah, yep.
So, another one that, again, this is another one of those movies that you kind of expect the critics to shit on it. But, this is kind of mixed critics and fans with the IMDb rating. And it gets a 5.5 on IMDb. And I think that's shameful, and we'll get into that later. But, I shouldn't be surprised because these fucking Nazis on IMDb, the way they rate things is just unbelievable sometimes. Now, granted, the really good movies they do get right, but, you know, a movie like this, it's never going to get the respect that it may deserve from the IMDb audience. So, you know, what can you do, right?
Just try to keep it alive in your own head, you know, basically.
Exactly. Well, this movie actually stars Elizabeth Shue, Jerry O'Connell. By the way, Elizabeth Shue, give me the hard eyes because, you know, I love her from, we could go Back to the Future 2.
Yep, Adventures in Babysitting, Back to the Future Part 2.
Adventures in Babysitting,
Man,
for sure.
Hollow Man, yeah, for sure.
Oh, God, she was fucking in Hollow Man, wasn't she? I didn't even realize that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Go lay down.
Yep.
My dogs are fighting now because they're trying to impress me. I'm not that impressed by their contest of champions down there. But yeah, Elizabeth Shue. Woo! Want to talk about a fucking 80s crush right there? That's one. But Jerry O'Connell, talk about him. You talked about him off air with me. Might as well talk about him now.
Well, you know, he plays a real prick in this movie, and I think that goes to
kind of love him.
Yeah, but I mean, it goes to show his range because he's usually the good guy. You know, our first thing I'd seen him in, believe it or not, was Sliders, which ran for, you know, 5 seasons of sci-fi.
Good show, too.
It was an amazing show. I've got it on DVD, and I love it. He left during the last season. They replaced him, so. But the first 4 seasons with him as the star were great. I saw him in My Secret Identity, which was another show that he had done prior to Sliders. And then, of course, he was in Stand By Me, the film. Yeah. And then Scream 2, he played a character named Derek, which is funny because his character in this movie is also called Derek.
Hell yeah, you know they had to go with the horror connection there.
Absolutely. And he's really awesome. He's good in this movie. He's believable, and he's got good range in this. And speaking of people in this film, cast members, it had one hell of a cast, man.
It does for like a movie that does not get any kind of credit for anything. You know, it's not something that people talk about unless you're like a true horror fan. But it did do well at the box office, I have to say. Maybe not in the U.S., but overall. I mean, it made its money back and then some, got a sequel. So, you know. But yeah, the cast, cameos alone are pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of them, too. Matter of fact, opening sequence. Fantastic cameo opening sequence, you know.
Hell yeah! I mean, maybe one of the best cameos for a movie like this ever. Just
because he hasn't gone back and done movies like that. That was, I think the only one he had ever done like that. And for anybody that doesn't know that's listening, we're talking about Richard Dreyfuss. Was Hooper in Jaws, and I don't think he ever went back and did anything horror related very much after that.
Nah, he was doing shit like Mr. Holland's Opus and things like that, you know, and What About Bob and
Stand By Me, he was the narrator in Stand By Me. He played the older version of this.
Oh, nice. So we get Jerry O'Connell and Richard Dreyfuss reunion.
Yeah, which is really cool. And then Christopher Lloyd, that was worth the price of admission alone.
Indeed. Fucking Christopher Lloyd. The fact that he was in it. Dude, I can't believe more people don't use him in this type of role, you know?
My wife said he's sort of still like Doc Brown kind.
He acts exactly the same. He doesn't have to like develop any kind of range.
I don't think that Doc Brown, to get off topic a little bit, is a character. I think that's his personality.
So you're saying that that's who he is in real life? You know, when I watched Taxi, I think you're probably right.
Oh, Taxi, that's a classic. You know, Robert Englund actually was up for the role of. He went up for Bobby. And they said they didn't like him for Bobby, but they wanted him to read for Lotka, who was the mechanic from the, you know, country that nobody really knew where. It was Andy Kaufman later on, obviously. That's who got the role. But he said, I don't know, you know, I don't really like this. I don't really think this is going to work. What do you guys want, an Andy Kaufman impression? And they all said, who? And then he said, Andy Kaufman, you know. And then he said, the next thing I know, you know, Andy Kaufman had the role, me and my big fucking mouth, you know.
And Andy Kaufman, you know, the rest is history with him. I love Andy Kaufman. You know, it's the wrestling connection. I remember him from wrestling as a kid, and, of course, I love
Man on the Moon. Yeah.
And anything else Andy Kaufman related, because he was fucking legend. But yeah, good shit. So yeah, I mean, some interesting connections in this movie. Get a lot of people like Ving Rhames in it. You get a little Eli Roth cameo. So yeah, I mean, you get Adam Scott from Parks and Recreation even in this movie, which I thought was funny, and Paul Scheer from The League. Well,
you're talking about Adam Scott. Adam Scott's done a fair amount of horror stuff. He was in Hellraiser Bloodline.
He was in that new movie Little Evil on Netflix.
Little Evil, yeah. My wife and I love that movie.
It was good. It was really good. Worth watching.
And Step Brothers. He was in Step Brothers too. That was hilarious.
Weird thing about Step Brothers, I've never seen it. You'd think I would have, but I just never have.
Oh, you've got to watch it, man. It reminds me of You and Vic, except older and related. It's hilarious.
Good shit. Well, let's go ahead and get into this movie. Vic will be calling in when he calls in.
Yeah, I got the message from him just now.
What do you say? So he's pushing himself?
I'm going to be late, I think is what he said, actually. He said, I'll call in late. That's what he said.
He probably can't get people out of his fucking store. And there's probably a good chance he's never even seen this movie. I have to mention something. Vic claimed at the time, now he might feel differently now, but he claimed Piranha. And now, have you seen Piranha 3 Double D or Piranha Double D, whatever you want to call it?
No, I haven't, but I know that's more like they're scantily clad. It's sort of almost like a slight pornographic horror movie, isn't it?
I mean, it's no different than this one. You know what I mean? Like, other than it's direct to DVD and less of a budget.
Well, I thought, from what I understood, because I haven't seen it, I don't know, that there was more skin shown in this one.
I feel like this one had more.
Really?
Just my opinion. Yeah, I think this one had more. I think they had a higher budget, so they were able to pay for more tits. That's just my opinion. The one good thing about it was that Danielle Panabaker from Friday the 13th remake was in it, but she didn't show her tits, so I didn't care. If you're not going to show your tits, I don't care. Also from Flash, if you're a
I'm a
superhero
Flash with Dr. Caitlin Snow, Killer Frost. Yep, for sure.
See, I can't get into that show, and the reason why is because it's too kind of rated G for me. Like, I love the Netflix Marvel TV shows, but I can't get into any of the DC ones other than Gotham.
Well, if you want to give one a chance, Bill Force did some work on it. It was the 1990 version of The Flash. It was actually really good. Danny Elfman did.
I love that one.
Oh, yeah, man. My kids love that one.
I fucking grew up with that Flash, just because, it was just my childhood.
He was in the new one, too. He actually played Jay Garrick in the new one, the alternate universe.
Yeah, those fucking alternate universes. Stop fighting. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, again, this movie, Vic tried to tell me that the second one was better. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I think you're the only person on earth that feels that way. But one of these days, we'll get into that one. We'll make sure that you get to see it before we do. But let's get into this movie, shall we? Kind of starts out with this fisherman named Matthew Boyd. Not that his name fucking matters, but it comes up a couple times later on. And it's played by who?
Richard Dreyfuss.
Richard fucking Dreyfuss. And when I first saw this movie, I don't know if I caught the fact that it was Richard Dreyfuss. It's 2010. Maybe I wasn't the horror fanatic that I am now and just didn't pick up on it because he didn't look, I don't know. They had him a little bit covered up, but it's pretty obvious now, so I don't know how I missed that. Granted, at the time, I was, divorced, and I was, with some chick, so it was a, different world for me back then.
Well, he actually references Jaws a lot. There's a lot of stuff in there. There's he's humming the tune, one of the...
Show me the way to go home, bump, bump.
Yeah, and then his shirt, and it says Amity Island on his shirt.
Yeah. We should mention where this actually is, too. It's in... the movie takes place in Lake Victoria, Arizona. Is that a real place? Because I don't think it is.
I'm not sure.
Me either. I have no fucking clue.
I'll check it out.
But yeah, Lake Victoria, Arizona, and he's in this boat and he's fishing and he chucks a fucking bottle of, what kind of beer was this? Maybe Bud Light?
I think it was Amity Island beer.
Amity Island beer? That's amazing.
I think that's what it was supposed to be. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, you get a huge earthquake that